How's it going, guys? Welcome back into another video, and today is another movie review. We are back once again, and yeah, we had a few good ones this weekend. We had some okay ones, and now we are hitting the full spectrum. We're hitting one that I'm not very excited to talk about today, but we're doing it anyways because it is a new. I don't know why this is a franchise. That's the first thing I'm going to say, but we're talking about Escape Room Tournament of Champions. Yes, saw the first one on a plane, believe it or not, which is kind of ironic because the main character's biggest fear is the fear of flying. Saw the first one on a plane. I thought it was fine. I didn't really like it, didn't think it was that great. And then I heard the second one was coming out, and I'm like, that's a thing that we're doing. I mean, they obviously set up a sequel in the first film, so I'm like, okay, well, okay, I see what they're doing here. We're definitely gonna get a sequel, and we did, and it's here, and it has been released, and today we are going to talk about it. So I think without further ado, let me pull my notes out on my my notebook. Here we are. All right, here we go. So without further ado, I think let's just get right into it. So there is some positive. I'm not gonna say that this is all negative because there actually is some things that I actually left surprised about, that I actually kind of enjoyed. There are some twists and turns in here that actually work. A lot of times with films like this, there's a lot of cheap, dull, kind of, it feels like you're cheating type writing that tries to fool the audience. You try to hit those twists and turns, but then in the end, they're very predictable. They feel tacky, they feel cheesy, they don't feel earned. Here, it actually works. And there are a few instances where this happens, and I'm like, wow, they went there and they did this. There's one in particular, I'm not going to spoil it for you guys, but let's just say when they're in the part with the sand, there is a thing that happens that I did not expect them to take that route. Now, it is rectified later in the movie, but it surprised me. And they went that route. So I do have to give credit for that. I don't actually think this is that poorly of a written movie. There is one big gripe that I'm going to give later, and the reason why I ended up really not enjoying it, because I already knew everything that was going to happen. But if we're looking just from the terms of the writing, it's not terrible. There are things that work here. I think the thing in the first film that I really didn't like was the way that it was written, was the way that our characters were written, and just the whole concept. The concept's interesting, but it's not anything I think worthy of multiple films, so that's why I was very hesitant coming into this one, but some of the writing actually worked, and that surprised me. I'm not gonna lie. That did surprise me. And here's the thing. I know it sounds like I'm bashing the film. Look, it's not a great film. I didn't love it. You guys will see that in my score. But there are things that are good about it. It has some potential. I will say, I was gonna say this when we got into the negatives, but I'll just say this now. This is the classic case of wasted potential. I said it about Cars 2. I'm gonna say it about Escape Room 2. This is the classic case of wasted potential, and I will talk about that when we get into the negatives. The suspense works. Obviously, with a film like this, it's going to be very suspenseful. It's going to elicit that emotion, so is it circumstantial? Maybe a little bit, but again, I think the writing is good enough where you kind of do get that, that suspense. It is there, and I think that is something that in a film like this that may not be as popular, that a lot of people may not want to watch, that doesn't have the track record of being that great, to have that work in a relatively effective way is actually good, and I'll give credit to them for that. It actually ended up being pretty nice. And the stakes, I mean, the stakes are here. The stakes were in the first one, obviously. The stakes are still here in the second one. I mean, this isn't really spoiler territory, but, a lot of people die, and that's just how it is in this franchise. It's like only one person is supposed to survive the escape room and win, so there's stakes. That's always clear. You always feel the stakes, and that adds to the suspense, and I think that is the right way to go about this, genuinely. Now, there are a few things that are revealed that I was like, okay, sure, that kind of kills the stakes a little bit. But I was intrigued by the stakes and the suspense. I think that stuff was both of those things were done very, very well. But with the good comes the bad. All right, so back to what I was talking about with wasted potential. The trailers showed too much. Way, way, way too much. All right, we're getting into spoiler territory here. So if you don't want to be spoiled, then click away, because we're getting into spoiler territory. They're on a plane, and the plane turns into an escape room, and they're going to crash. That is the cliffhanger at the end of the movie for a third movie. Usually you don't like to put your cliffhangers in the advertising. Usually you keep those a secret. Other reveals, like, there's too much here in the trailers. Some of those reveals are not surprising reveals because I've seen the trailers. I'm like, oh, okay, this is when this is going to happen. You know, knowing that, what's his name? Ben? Yeah. Again, we're in spoiler territory, guys. Knowing that Ben comes back, he doesn't actually die. That is spoiled in the trailers because you're like, we haven't seen that section of the film yet, and he is definitely in that section of the film. So the twists, while they are good and while they work in the grand scheme of the film itself, I just think it's very wasted. I think that if you had not spoiled any of that stuff, this would have been a really, really different story than what it is now. Because now, from my point of view at least, it's very predictable. A lot of the beats are predicted beforehand. A lot of the twists didn't satisfy me because I already knew they were going to happen. I think we would have had a very different story if the advertising would have been a bit different. So that's kind of the first major thing. It's a lot of wasted potential here. Again, it's got some good. I don't think it's the best thing I've seen in the world, but it has some good. I'm not going to say it's like a terrible movie, but I think that there are some problems here. I don't think the acting is great. I think Logan Miller, who plays Ben, is probably the best person in this. He's pretty good. Taylor Russell, who plays Zoe, I'm sorry, very unlikable lead. And I don't know if that's her. I don't know if that's how she's written. I don't know what it is, but I do not care for Zoe at all. At all. I have no care for her at all. I care more about Ben, honestly, than I do about Zoe. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the performance. I don't know if it's the writing, but I am not attached. I don't have that emotional attachment to Zoe, our main character. I don't. They try to make her seem likable. They try to make her, they try to make you feel bad for her. They try to make you, they try a lot of things, but for me at least, it just didn't work. And I was left not caring. So whatever happened, happened. And that's not great writing or great performances. I'm not really sure, but it just in the end is pretty unlikable. And again, it's just a case of wasted potential. I think this would have been a lot better of an experience. I probably would have rated it higher if we had different advertising. And I know that sounds like a bit of a cop-out, but legitimately, I knew where we were going. I knew it was going to happen. It was very predictable. It wouldn't have been predictable if they hadn't have spoiled some of the stuff. That's really what it comes down to. And I think, some of the other aspects, it's just kind of okay. So that's kind of it. I think without further ado, let's just kind of get into the point breakdown. Okay, entertainment. I gave it 15 out of 20. I mean, I was entertained for a very good part of it. It was fine. Performance is 13 out of 20. Fine. I wouldn't say anything revolutionary. Direction, 7 out of 10. Fine. Writing, 7 out of 10, which I think is very surprising. I think that's the most surprising score I'd give, is the 7 out of 10 for writing. Emotion, 6 out of 10. I didn't really feel the emotion there. Cinematography, 7 out of 10. Cinematography, fine. A few cool shots. Score, 4 out of 5. Pacing, 4 out of 5. It did go by pretty quick. Short runtime, though. Rewatchability, 3 out of 5. And an automatic 5 out of 5 points. Means if you did the math, I give Escape Room 2 a 71 out of 100. Not anywhere near where I thought I was going to rate it. I thought I would rate it much lower. I still enjoyed parts of it. There are things I like about it. But in the end, it is what it is. But I want you guys to go down below. Let me know what you think. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Let me know your thoughts on Escape Room Tournament of Champions. I just knocked something over. Let me know down below in the comments what you thought. But I want to thank you all so much for taking the time to watch the video today. The only thing I'm going to plug, if you have not already, please consider hitting that big red button and subscribe. And we do movie reviews like this every week, covering the biggest movies that come out in theaters and on streaming. So make sure you go check them out. Make sure you go check out all my reviews that have come out. We got Gunpowder Milkshake. We got Space Jam 2: A New Legacy. You can go check out my Black Widow review, my Loki review, and we got more reviews coming very soon. So if you're not already, please consider hitting that big red button. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Bit of a lofty goal, but I think we might be able to do it. But guys, I want to thank you so much for watching. I want you guys to have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you in the next video.